Hey, friend. Are you having a good week? I really hope so. Also, did you grab your ticket for Little by Little Homeschool Conference? Did you get that announcement? Did you listen to that episode from last Thursday? If you did not, go ahead and go back 2 episodes there and listen to that. Go ahead and check out littlebylittlehomeschool.com/conference for all of the details. I really hope to be able to see you there in just 2 short months. It's just so exciting. I cannot wait. But today we are going to talk about you changing the feel of your everyday. You're probably feeling tired. You're feeling maybe even more than that, exhausted, and don't have the energy. Today, I've got some tips for you, things that I wish I knew when I was right where you are, when I was in your shoes. I wish I could go back and have a redo, but I'm going to live vicariously through you today. All right, let's do this.
Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where you'll learn tips and strategies that will empower you to home educate your children. I'm Leigh Nguyen, a homeschool mom of over 12 years, which includes 2 graduates. When I started homeschooling, I was pretty much on my own and was desperate for encouragement and help. My mission is to be a source of encouragement and help to you. Whether you are just beginning your homeschool journey or you're deep into the homeschool lifestyle, Little by Little Homeschool wants to help you stay the course because all the time you are investing into your children is completely worth it. If you're ready to take your homeschool to new levels, keep listening.
Let's be real and honestly realistic at this point. You are currently in an exhausting season of life. Let's acknowledge that. We don't have to celebrate it. We don't have to live in this way, being a martyr and being, oh, I'm just always exhausted. And I've seen this. I've seen this in people just over and over again in moms. I'm just exhausted. Well, I really don't think that that's the way that God wants you to live. I think there is a better way. I think that there are days that you are going to be tired. You are going to be exhausted, and overall, there might be this feeling of just tiredness because of all of the things that you need to accomplish just to keep everybody alive and moving forward every single day. Being exhausted, being tired all the time is not a badge of honor. We should instead change that mindset and think to ourselves, how can I have more energy so I can do today really well? I can be there for my husband. I can be there for my kids. I can be there for my extended family, for my community, for my neighbors, my friends, all the people that you need to be there for and to do things for. And sometimes that might be too much. Let's just even dial it back. How can you glorify God in this role as a mother and as a homeschool mom and as a wife? We can do that better when we have the energy in order to do that. Now, some of us are just wired to have more energy, maybe don't need as much rest and just are kind of go, go, go. You're probably thinking of someone specific right now, or maybe that's you. And some of us are just tired because of just that season with young children. There's a lot of questions to answer. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of emotional energy that is taken from you every single day. It might not even be physical. You might be counting your steps each day and say, I really don't take a lot of steps, but I'm exhausted emotionally and mentally. Let's optimize the energy that you can have because I truly do not believe that God wants you to be living in a fog. Now, there are times if you are newly postpartum, you've got a newborn baby, you have little ones, and there can feel like there's a fog, but you are meant to come out of that fog and you are meant to thrive. Myself, oh, I wish so much. So today I'm going to share with you a couple of tips, and some of them are going to sound pretty basic, and they might be a reminder for you. I wish that I could sit down with myself from 15 years ago and say, look, girlfriend, this is what you need to work on, and giving just some practical steps and some tips on how to do this. I was just lost and just living in a fog and just exhaustion and tiredness all the time. And I wore it like a badge. And I thought that that showed that I was a good mom, that I was the best mom, that I was doing everything right because I was always exhausted. And I felt convicted at some point there, like, okay, this is not something to wear proudly. let's look at what we can do differently. And to be honest, at this point now, I have learned so much in the past couple of years, and my energy is so much more than it used to be. And you could say, yeah, sure, that's probably also because you're able to sleep through the night and you don't have little kids. There is a little bit of that. I'm not going to deny that that is part of it, but I wish I had some of these just basic things, and I wish I had someone telling me these basic things. And so today I'm going to tell you to encourage you. And it might feel like a lot at first, and I'm not telling you to go ahead and do all of it. You might have some of these things in place. Maybe see what you don't have in place so that you can work on those. Or maybe you don't have any of these in place. Start with just one and get really good adding that in and making that change into your day. And then when that is a part of your life, that's a habit, you can go ahead and add the next one. So today's episode, just think of it a little bit like myself at the age of 48, sitting down with myself from, let's say, in my mid 30s and having a conversation, and you get to listen in on that conversation. I remember being stressed, wondering if I could hold it together with the homeschool day, especially when we had field trips. Am I going to be able to stay awake all day long? Am I going to get grumpy and not be pleasant and turn this field trip into a not very good day? And other days that we were out, maybe it was a day of a co op or a special thing that we went and did with others, whatever it was, wondering if I could hold it together. And I would start off the day being stressed about that. And I wish that I had these things in place so that I wouldn't necessarily have to be stressed and wouldn't have to worry, because hopefully that these things would have made a change and therefore I would have had the energy to pull off the day well. First one, you're never going to guess this one. Actually, you will. First one is sleep. You got to turn off the TV. You got to turn off the phone. You got to put those things away at a certain time. So you're wondering, what kind of sleep? How long of sleep? You know how much sleep you need in this season of life. And you might have little ones who are waking you up at night, and you should probably add on some more time. I mean, the average, I guess they say, is about 7, 8 hours of sleep that you need. And so, say you want to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's count back 8 hours. That would be 11 o'clock. That would be falling asleep at 11 o'clock. Does it take you 15 minutes to get to sleep? Does it take you 30 minutes to get to sleep? Maybe you're like me and lights are out and I'm out within a minute or two. My family kind of groans. They laugh a little bit. It's kind of I'm a butt of some of their jokes, but I don't really care because I can fall asleep very quickly. But maybe you're not like that. So thinking back, counting back then, saying, well, it takes me about 10, 15 minutes to fall asleep and I need some time to wind down, maybe to do some reading beforehand. So counting back to that. I like to get up maybe 6:30 is my goal each morning. So therefore, I need to be in bed with lights out by 10, 10:30. And the later that you make the time, the more your circadian rhythm can kind of get off. I've seen some studies and stuff. So I have heard. Now, this is not giving me medical advice. I don't have studies right now to cite you, but I think that 10 o'clock is probably a good time. Some of you might go to bed earlier. Maybe you need more sleep. Maybe you're more like, I'd like to get up at 6, but I need closer to 9 hours. Or I need more like 9 hours because I'm getting up, or there's a possibility of getting up with children. So then you would be like, okay, I should be in bed, lights out by 9 o'clock. So set bedtime and then prioritize that bedtime. Say by this certain time, I have to have the TV off, or I have to have my phone turned off, or maybe there is certain chores or certain things you want to do. Like for me, I want to get the kitchen shut down and I want to get things prepped for the next day. So I tell myself everything, I'm done with everything by 9 o'clock. And then I move into my nighttime routine of getting the kitchen, making sure that that's shut down. The kitchen's already cleaned up from dinner, but getting the last of maybe any dishes that were drying on the counter away, getting the dishwasher set. Maybe there's a little laundry I need to put in. Maybe there's a little bit of cleaning up, double checking about maybe there's certain ingredients that I need for breakfast. Like, what am I making for breakfast that next morning? And just all of those little things, locking up the doors, turning off lights, all the things. And therefore, I can then get washed up and I can be in bed reading by 10, 10:15, have lights out then no later than 10:30. Now, I'm not perfect or anything like that, but think of it in that way. Also, when it comes to your sleep, don't be afraid to take a power nap if you are able to do that. I know that I had some friends when my kids were little that were like, I cannot nap. I can't fall asleep. And I get that. Some people can't. I was a power napper, and that was also what added a bit of stress is I didn't get my proper sleep at night. Therefore, a nap in the afternoon was pretty much required in order to get me through the late afternoon and dinner time and bath and bedtime and all the cleaning up and all the things that needed to happen. I needed to take a little power nap. Now, in some seasons, it was more than a power nap. My kids would take maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hour nap, and I would be out the entire time too. But I also was so exhausted, I could easily fall asleep at night. So be careful that the power nap does not affect your sleep at night. If you find that taking a power nap, even a 10, 15 minute nap in the afternoon throws off your sleep at night, then you're going to need to figure out how can you get better sleep at night so that you don't have to take that nap during the day, which then affects the sleep at night. I'm kind of at that point right now because my kids are older. I can take a nap. I am able to fall asleep on some days. Actually, Sunday. Sunday is my favorite day to take a nap, but sometimes it affects my sleep that night, which then means that my week kind of starts off a little bit. So, sleep, make that a priority. Number 2, I know you're going to probably guess this one too. You're like, I know what she's going to say. And I'm going to say, you need food, nutritious food, more so than just any food, because food, your nutrition equals fuel. If your body is fueled up, you can continue moving along. You can continue doing the things that you need to do. You have the proper amount of protein, you have the proper amount of carbs, you have the proper amount of fats. Living off of coffee is not fueling yourself. That's just keeping yourself in a frantic type of state, in a fight or flight inside. You might be moving on the outside, but on the inside, you're probably not doing as well. So, food and nutrition. And what does that look like? You're going to know what's going to be best for your body. Don't follow what anybody else is doing. I'm going to tell you what I personally sort of stick to and follow is the Weston A. Price Foundation, just more of a, I guess maybe they would say, an ancestral diet. I am not necessarily straight carnivore. I like doing the macros, and I don't necessarily count those macros. But when I started prioritizing protein, I noticed a lot of changes in my body as far as losing some weight that I had put on. I did do an episode back in the spring. I can link that in the show notes for you about losing some weight that I just suddenly put on. And I find that I had the energy. I don't, like I said, sometimes I can nap, and a Sunday is kind of I think because Sundays are a little bit different, a little bit off for me. I'm not used to go, 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 and then sit down for an hour and a half for a church service, which I love. Our church service is wonderful and lovely. And then getting up, and I don't know, maybe it's just also, I think for me, is I know that it's a day that I can rest and relax, and the to-do list isn't there. But on every other day, I prioritize my protein and therefore have the fuel, have everything's firing within me, and I can keep going. So I want you to do the same thing. When I look back and I look at what I ate a ton of carbs. No wonder I was crashing. No wonder I was crashing every single afternoon. It was because I was causing myself. I would had a huge blood sugar spike and then a crash, and I would fall asleep. So I don't want the same for you. So start doing some research. There's so much information online. And remember, it is a journey. When I look at where I have gotten to and where I started, I'm like, wow, who would have known? So it can be fun. Don't get frustrated, but look into your food, nutrition, how you can feel yourself best. Number 3 is exercise. Exercise is not something that we always want to do, but it can give us energy. And on the days that I work out and exercise, I sleep so much better. On those days when I do my dumbbell workout and lift heavy weights and I get all my steps in, I'll walk a couple of miles that day, I sleep so well. I fall asleep very easily and I am out and I feel refreshed the next day. So even though the exercising, the working out feels uncomfortable, think of it in terms of the scope of your entire day. And also think about what it is doing for your body for the many years to come. So find an exercise program, find something that you really enjoy doing that's going to give you the energy that it can. I mean, I get done with a workout and I'm like, yeah, I can take on the world. And I want you to feel the same way as well. Don't neglect and ignore the working of your body and what that can do to your energy levels. Number 4, this one is not as practical and not as obvious as you might think for the sleep and the nutrition and the exercise. But consider less consumption of the news and information. Decide to live a smaller life. Lessen the stress in your life We don't need to know everything that is going on everywhere. It can feel overwhelming, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you need to take social media apps off of your phone. Maybe you need to say to the person who wants to tell you all the latest news, I don't wanna hear it. I can't hear it. I can't handle it right now. Please don't tell me. I remember making that decision many years ago when my kids were young, and I kinda had a joke to my husband. I was like, "That's fine. You can keep up with what's going on in the news, but I am no longer watching the news." This is probably about 10 years ago. So the joke was, "Let me know when we need to go into the bunker." We didn't have a bunker, but still, like, let me know if there's something big that I need to know about, which it feels like now in 2024, it feels like everything is big. But I think that's because of social media, and it's the ability that we have to be able to share so much information. It's okay to live a smaller life, to put your head down and to focus on your family, focus on your friends, focus on your neighborhood, your community right there. Now, I'm not saying that you have to ignore everything, but all of the stress of knowing everything that thousands and millions and billions of people are dealing with can really weigh on our shoulders, and it can really deplete our energy. And so I'm encouraging you just to lessen the stress of needing to know everything and just give it a try. Maybe just say, you know what, for 1 week, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to not turn on the news. I'm not going to look at certain things on Facebook or Instagram or wherever. Maybe just even take those off completely and say, I'm going to see how I feel after a week. And you might not feel any different. Maybe you want to need to try another week and see how you feel at that point. And do you feel more peace in your heart? Because that is going to give you more fuel as well and more energy every day to focus in on where God has you right now in this season of life. Number 5, I got 2 more here for you. Number 5 is don't overload your schedule. So not only kind of push aside what's going on big picture, but how about small picture and take a look. How many activities are your kids involved in? How many sports, extracurricular? How many different co-ops or different groups are you involved in? Is it too much when you're going, and maybe you don't have a natural tendency of having a super high energy level? It might be too much. Look at yourself, be realistic, talk to your husband about this. He might notice some things. He might say, you know what? I notice that you go to this co op on Tuesdays, and on Wednesdays, you're wiped out and the kids are cranky. And I think there might just be something. It might be too much. Or he might say, on Fridays, you guys are wiped out, you're cranky, you're tired, the baby's crying all day. Because you look at Monday through Thursday, you're just going. Take a look at your schedule and say, what can I put aside for right now? I've done that many times and I've never regretted it. Sometimes there's a hard conversation where you have to say to somebody, I'm sorry, I can no longer attend this Bible study or this co op, or I can no longer facilitate this Bible study, or I can no longer run this women's ministry. I need to put this aside right now and looking at your priorities for right now. Maybe the overloaded schedule causes you not to get the sleep. Maybe it makes it so that it's really difficult to be able to get in good, nutritious meals. Maybe it takes too much time where you don't have the time to actually physically move your body and to exercise. Number 6, the last one here, and we'll wrap up, and that is to give grace to yourself. But don't continue in the negative behavior and say, "Oh, I'm just giving grace to myself. Oh, I only ate a bowl of cereal and a bunch of candy and a couple of coffees. That's what I had yesterday for food." I'm not saying I did. This is just hypothetical. And say, "Oh, I'm just gonna give myself grace because it was a tough day." Don't give yourself grace to cover up negative behavior. Optimize these 5 things: the sleep, the food, the exercise, less consumption of the news and information, and lessening, not overloading your schedule. Optimize those things and then give yourself grace. And you might have some other areas that you need to optimize instead or along with these 5 things. And then give yourself a little bit of grace, just understanding you're in this season of life. Your kids will get older and it will be easier to get that sleep. And it won't be as hard to get the food and nutrition in because you're not having to make lunch for a handful of little kids and cutting everything up and making sure that they eat. And then you're like, oh, wait, that's right, I have to eat. They will eventually get older. They will make their own lunches, and you'll be able to prioritize and make your own lunch and not have to necessarily worry. Although, you kind of have that side eye, okay, let's teach them how to eat well and nutritious for themselves. But I think I know you know what I mean. So optimize these 5 things and then give yourself grace. But don't allow that grace to cover up negative, bad behavior. Friend, if you are enjoying this podcast, it would bless me so big if you could leave a review if you have not done so. And if you have done so, or if you want to do it along with leaving a review, please share this episode or any episode that has encouraged you to in any way with another homeschool mom that's a friend of yours. You can go ahead and send it to her through social media, or you can go ahead and send her a quick text. So thank you for leaving a review. Thank you for sharing this podcast. And again, if you have not gotten your ticket for the conference, I encourage you to do so. Check out the link in the show notes to be able to do that. And I will see you back here very soon.
Thank you for listening, friend. I'd love to connect with you more. You can find social media links in the show notes and share this episode with a friend who could use a boost to her homeschool. See you back here real soon.